I'm Mason Mount. You're listening to the London is Blue podcast.
All right, Chelsea fans, what is up? What is happening? It is time for another London is Blue podcast, the best kind of podcast. Nick and Dan with me, smiling ear to ear, soaking it all in. This is gonna be a party, gentlemen. This is, to be fair, Nick, we've traded those 3 terrible losses for this one massive win. We have cashed in. The prize is ours.
Indeed. I will credit George Benson, who was on our show last weekend after an atrocious loss to Bournemouth. And he said that if we beat Spurs, he doesn't give a shit what happened the previous 6 weeks, Dan. And I'll tell you, it feels like he might have been right there.
Well, it's elation. It's joyous. It's Christmas come early. As we're recording, we're about 48 hours away from Christmas. And this is one of those gifts that Frank Lampard and 11 other wonderful men decided that we should open just a touch early this year. And we are so happy to do so.
I thought you were going to say 48 beverages in, which probably wouldn't be too far off the pace.
Also accurate.
Yeah, it was fun talking to George a little bit. Yannick was very
lighting us up today.
He was enjoying himself. So go check out his match recap and his video on YouTube. It will be a good one based off our WhatsApp conversation. Go check out AZ Designer. He will be putting out some banging Willian illustrations for his performance. So look, we have so much to talk about in this episode. It's going to be a little bit different. I think we just kind of want to run through the match itself and attack it kind of one thing at a time versus how we normally do it. So bear with us. There's just so much to unpack. We didn't want to skip anything. But per our usual start to the podcast, Nick has an overall theme for today's show. Nick, let the lovely listeners know what they're in store for.
I've just got word that we're going to the Monitor for this one, actually. And there has been a VAR check, and it appears that London is indeed blue, Brandon.
Perfect.
And that's been the decision from the office. So London is blue.
All right. Well, now that we have an official word on London and its territories, Dan, Chelsea FC on Instagram crushing it with a post-match illustration graphic. We will share it, but walk us through it. Wordsmith.
Oh, there was so much. Credit to everyone. Everyone was the team was on A+ form today, and a lot of the supporters and individuals posting content online were also on A+ form. This one in particular is the Blues Christmas Vacation, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and it's Willian in the titular role in the Santa outfit, so like the actual poster for the movie, getting electrocuted by the Christmas lights, and he did not have many good packages to bring to Spurs fans. Also, we didn't put in the script here, another great match day poster, Star Wars theme that had all that was really, really good too. I know, Nick, you picked out a couple other ones that you were very excited about.
Yeah, I think our friends at Chelsea FC and USA might have had their best day as a Twitter account today. They were absolutely on fire between the Willian takes flight and Tottenham pays for it tweet, which was absolutely fantastic. And then they did the famous guy with sign in New York that just says London is blue on it. They were absolutely ripping it today, absolutely on fire. And then Brandon, all of the academy players who have come up and are now playing in the first team all tweeted out very similar messages, and I just want you to read that out loud just for shits and giggles.
Yeah, a lot of different photos, a lot of different wordsmithing on it. But at the end of the day, we use Mason Mounts. London is blue with a blue heart emoji. He's got him, Tammy doing the squint, the feint he always does, Reece James with the smug look, Callum Hudson-Odoi happy to be there, and Fick fixed feeling himself. And then Mason smiles from ear to ear. Love seeing those boys. The Academy was proper up for it. They had themselves a day today, and I'm so excited to get into it. While we're getting into everything, we do want to get to our shout outs next time. This is going to be an extra long show, so we want to jump into it right away. But we are going to plug the scarves really quick, Nick, just because we do have a handful left. Chad even asked me at Brits Day, do we still have some? I said yes, but they're thinning. And he said, I need to get me one. So we need to reserve one for Chad. But for our listeners, there are still a few left, correct?
The privileges of being Chad. Yeah, so Dan, I think we probably have what, 40-ish? Is 40 right?
That's probably close to the accurate number.
Give or take. Okay. So
we'll do a VAR check on that one later and get back.
we'll take it to the screen. Yeah. So if you're interested in buying a scarf, they won't ship until after the new year, as we are kind of all busy with family and such. So forgive us there. But if you're interested, contact at londonisbluepodcast.com is our PayPal. So you got to PayPal us. If you live in the U.S., $20 with shipping included. If you're in an international supporter, $25, and that includes shipping as well. Just hit us up. Let us know that you've ordered one. We'll make sure to get those out after the new year, and you can wear that to your next watch party or hopefully to Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, don't be like me. Don't lose it right away.
Unbelievable.
I had it post London, and I don't know where it went. So I'm the worst. I might have to go buy one just like everyone. All right. So serious face now, because before we want to get into the match there, we feel like it is important to pull out the racism piece and put it at the beginning, because we believe that it deserves to be pulled out of the match and discussed separately, and making also sure that you don't miss it. We're only a couple minutes into the show. I guarantee you're still listening. This is the time for us to talk about it while we have your ears. So what would become the most unfortunate incident of the match? Antonio Rudiger made a monkey gesture and pointed to the Spurs supporters who were heckling him with racial abuse, is what we can assume. He let Azpilicueta know. Azpilicueta followed protocol, told Anthony Taylor. This was one of the few things that Anthony Taylor got right on the day. Stop play, talk to Mourinho, talk to Lampard together, instigated the protocol. And then there were 3 separate announcements made via the stadium PA to remind the players and fans that racial abuse is not accepted at these matches and are a form of match interference. Dan, Antonio Rudiger took to Twitter afterwards to clarify and elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, so just from his tweets, starting off here, tweet 1 of 4. It's really sad to see such racism again at a football match, but I think it's very important to talk about it in public. If not, it will be forgotten again in a couple of days, as always. I don't want to involve Tottenham as an entire club into this situation, as I know that's just a couple of idiots. Just a couple of idiots were the offenders. I got a lot of supportive messages on social media from Spurs fans as well in the last hours. Thank you a lot for this. I really hope the offenders will be found and punished soon. And in such a modern football ground like the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, with dozens of TVs and security cameras, it must be possible to find and subsequently punish them. If not, then there must have been witnesses in the stadium who saw and heard the incident. It's just as they're saying that racism still exists in 2019. When will this nonsense stop? Full stop. And that's, Nick, I mean, it's just amazing that, we're 382 matches into this, to what we do as a podcast, and we're still having to talk about this type of aberrant and frankly unacceptable behavior that occurs too often.
Yeah, I think we were, putting rough guesstimates on this, which is a terrible thing to do, but it's probably somewhere in the 15th or 20th time that we've mentioned this issue in one of our podcasts, and that's outside of the 3-part series that we did on racism and anti-Semitism last summer. So it's incredibly sad. I just credit Robbie Earle on the NBC telecast if you were watching that. Rebecca Lowe basically asked him, like, how is Antonio Rudiger going to feel? And she did that with the context that Robbie Earle suffered racist abuse when he played in England. And his response was that he'll be tough and, he'll show strength in his press opportunities. He'll show strength to his family. But when he really sits down at night, he's just going to feel really sad. And Robbie Earle was tearing up. I think the whole set was somber, and it's just unacceptable isn't a strong enough fucking word for what's happening now. I think is my point of view on this, Brandon. Gary, I'm going to let you go on what Gary Neville said, because I thought he was great on the day. And Ashley Cole was great with him on the Sky Sports set, but it makes me so angry, like angry and furious that in 2019, we still haven't figured this out.
Right. It's and you have to know it's a huge thing, because we have so many amazing positive things to talk about that we have to push them aside, because this trumps everything else. Gary Neville, if you've missed it, he was on Sky Sports right after the match. It was him, Ashley Cole, Graham Souness, maybe just Dave, the presenter. Anyways,
Jones,
we're just going to give him a quick quote, because I don't always agree with Neville, but I think that he has a really good perspective on this one. So again, quote, "We have seen an issue today that we might say is down to one particular person, but it is a far bigger issue than that. And there has to be something that happens quickly. We maybe have to empower the players to walk off the pitch and stop the entertainment while it's happening, because that's the only way I can see it changing." End quote. They talked about Ashley Cole when he was racially abused in Turkey in 2003, and Neville has now publicly came out and said he's ashamed that he didn't take action back then. He also said he didn't know what to do back then. So, like, even players today, they aren't sure what to do. They need help. They need guidance. So Neville goes on to say, quote, "I didn't walk off the pitch when Ashley was abused 15 years ago, and people might say it's okay to sit in my ivory tower of a commentary box and tell players to walk off the pitch. But ultimately, I am ashamed of myself for not doing it 15 years ago. And I'd be absolutely proud of players now if they did something about it and took it into their own hands." Again, end quote. That is powerful in the sense that he was in the situation, 15 years removed, in hindsight, is remorseful, feels terrible, embarrassed. I mean, the words he's using are so strong. That should empower players now to take the power away from the FA, from the broadcasters, from the rest of the fans in the stadium. Imagine doing your job and being racially abused. I think that is the quickest way for you to try to sit here in your seat as an individual and say, and understand it. The difference is they do it in front of 60,000 or more people on a weekend, and they get to be jeered at and booed and harassed. It's unacceptable. And that's something that we have to deal with.
And really quick, sorry to cut you off there. If the PFA or footballing governing bodies, Dan, aren't going to make a move on this, aren't going to do anything about it, then let them respond to both teams walking off the pitch and figure out what to do after the fact. I think that's a brilliant idea. But it's not as if they've only had like 36 hours to figure out what to do about racism in football. They've had 60 years to figure it out. Way more than that. Sorry, that was a terrible number arbitrarily to throw out there, but like, just in general, they've had a ton of time and haven't figured it out. Let them figure it out after the fact.
No, new to 2019, just as new as the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. This only came about just recently, so they're really struggling to deal with how to get the appropriate answer in a short window of time. I mean, look, Raheem Sterling has been a brilliant person speaking about this through the course of last season and this season. We're seeing, what Rudiger has to say, who was also abused back in Italy. Not just, this is not the first time as a footballer that he's been the subject of racial abuse and intolerance. And it's just a matter of that, we as supporters, we as fans, actually, I will not give Spurs fans a lot of credit, but in general, the amount of outpouring from their supporters about wanting these people out of their club, the same way that, in incidents where one or two morons have given Chelsea a bad name, they have responded the same way, like any civilized human being should be doing, and saying that they don't want their club, they don't want to be associated with it. And that's the type of groundswell that needs to occur to start pushing it forward, because it's going to be supporters and it's going to be players and these clubs that do it, and ultimately force the FA and these governing bodies to make something happen, because they're comfortable sitting back and allowing change to be slow. This is something that change needs to move much, much quicker in, because society is not perfect. It's not there, in terms of total global equality, but it should be moving quicker than it is today.
Yeah. I mean, I would say this too, Brandon. To me, I'm not using this as a stick to beat Spurs over the head with, right? They're not the only club in which this has happened. It happened in the Manchester Derby a couple of weeks ago. It's happened at Chelsea. It's happened everywhere in kind of our big five European leagues. This obviously is unfortunate that it happened. I thought that it was great that for the first time a PA announcement was used to address the issue in real time. I think that Cesar Azpilicueta, Anthony Taylor, both managers, like everyone acted in the right protocol for dealing with this today. So I think it's crucial that we give appropriate credit to things happening in a relatively fast manner. It just, while saying all that, this can't be a thing that we talk about every 6 weeks.
It can't. It might be, but it can't. And I think, again, this isn't a Spurs problem. This is a society problem. So leaving it at that, we have plenty of other things to beat the Spurs fans over the heads with. Lampard's point, he will always back his players, but he doesn't even label Spurs as racist, nor are we, right? Single individuals, minority groups are ruining it for the greater good. And those are the ones we want to eradicate from the game we love. And again, we have issues. They have issues. Everyone has issues. So let's address it as a team of people looking to make this world better and this sport better. So with that being said, all right, we are happy to engage on this. You can go back and listen to our anti-racism, anti-Semitism podcast we did a while ago. We're on record with where we stand. And if you disagree with us, that's your opinion. Go somewhere else, because this is what we do. All right. Now, we can move on, transition into the match review. So, as normal, it was Tottenham in the Premier League at I think it's honestly just called Tottenham Hotspur Stadium because they don't have naming rights. It is not White Hart Lane.
That is correct.
I believe John Terry said it was still called 3 Point Lane, though. So.
Hey!
Oh no, it's the new 3 Point Lanes, the new 3 Point Stadium.
Well, yeah, boring as hell.
You just gotta keep up with the naming nomenclature there, Brandon. That's it.
Sounds like their problem, not mine. So, anyways, in case you missed it, Chelsea 2, Spurs 0. We are going to run commentary on these. So, Willian, in the 12th minute, let it play. And then 45th minute plus 4 minutes of stoppage time. Willian from the penalty spot, deliver it. All right, coming off that victorious high, listening to those back, Dan, we do have a lineup to go through. And what commotion did this lineup kick up before the match?
He would be labeled by a unhappy individual as a clone of Antonio Conte, but it was Frank Lampard's 3-4-3 that initially took the field, with Kepa Arrizabalaga in goal. You had Antonio Rudiger, Kurt Zuma, and Fikayo Tomori back from injury as our back three. Azpilicueta, Conte, Kovacic, and Alonso as a midfield four, and none other than Willian, who we just talked about with those amazing goals, Mason Mount, and Tammy Abraham as our front three. And in terms of substitutes, a couple unused subs, including Andreas Christensen, Willie Caballero, Callum Hudson-Odoi, and Christian Pulisic. use substitutes of Jorginho, Michy Batshuayi, and Reece James. And Nick, I think looking at this lineup, I don't think this was the match where I was necessarily anticipating a switch to a back three, but it certainly happened, and it was here.
Yeah, we were talking about on our last show, like what little changes might you make for Chelsea's last few games of the season, and Dan did bring up the 3-4-3 as a potential thing, but I didn't think we'd see it today. I mean, a one Nick Verlani on the show tweeted before the match, "Well then, not my lineup, but then again, I'm not the manager of Chelsea Football Club. Come on, Chelsea."
Sure aren't.
I know it's not Thanksgiving. It would also be a hashtag things I'm thankful for.
Yeah, I am not. I am not Chelsea's manager, and Frank just got it right today. I think that's the end all and be all. This was a absolute masterclass of a managerial and a player performance today. Everything worked. It was dominant. It was effective. It was efficient at times. It was really outgoing, attacking football at times. Brandon, I mean, this was something I did not see coming, given the personnel involved. Alonso back in somehow after 6 weeks of not. Azpilicueta going back to the right when everyone said he was left for dead. I think it was just an interesting one. And no Pulisic, no Jorginho from the beginning sounded kind of like we were set up for a really all-out defensive struggle, and it just wasn't the case.
And Willian on the left, right? So we hadn't seen him there much this season, and boy, did he look pretty good on that side. Weird situations. You go in with a Kovacic-Kante midfield too, knowing that they're going to have at least three players in the midfield. So you're essentially giving up the midfield battle. But like he said in this post-match, they like to go long. They like to run at you. He felt like having an extra center back was important. And coming off a week ago when we lamented his decision-making and substitutes and not really getting it right, nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. When it came out, I said, look, I think this is going to be 100% a game plan just for Spurs. We're probably not going to really see this that often. I thought we would sit back and absorb a lot. Let me run you through some statistics. Chelsea with 13 shots, only 3 on target, which you would hope to be better. Spurs with 5 shots, only 1 on target. You're going to have to remind me about that because it's hard to remember.
Chelsea with generous right there. I think that's generous.
It was very, very late in the match when that.
And it was deflected, and it just kind of popped to Kepa nice and easy. 56% possession to Spurs 44. That is where I missed my prediction. I thought we would sit and absorb, but there was nothing to absorb, honestly. 82% pass accuracy, 11 fouls. 3 cautions for us, 4 to Spurs, 0 red cards, which I never talk about, but there was 1 for Tottenham. It was an interesting battle. Danny, look at the expected goals here. It's pretty low. Obviously, the penalty skews a little bit, but not much between the teams statistically.
Well, the expected goal of 0.3 for Tottenham, 0.5 for Chelsea, +1 for the penalty. And, yeah, you can see that we definitely have more shots. There was a couple that if they had just been pulled a little bit earlier, we could have pulled them release a little bit sooner instead of our ticky-tacky, try to walk it in the back of the net situation. Would have definitely maybe had a much higher conversion and much higher kind of end total. But at the end of the day, it's a win. It's 3 points. It's against Tottenham. It feels fucking amazing, and I want to talk about more of it. So can we get there? Can we do that, Brandon, please?
There's plenty going into it. So again, we're gonna kind of run through it as the game happened. I know we already gave you the top line stuff. That's just context to set the scene. That's just the stuff that Nick contractually makes us talk about. Otherwise, he won't appear on the show.
That's right.
So yeah, we'll get into the fluff stuff, as he likes to call it. All right, let's talk about the start leading up to the goal. Chelsea came out of the gate strong. We had a chance to see how Lampard wanted his switch to the 3-4-3 to go. Maybe you want to call it 3-4-2-1, whatever. Nick, how did you feel Chelsea approached the match in the opening minutes?
This was a cruise. It was an absolute cruise. Chelsea were by far the better passing team. They had by far the better tempo and rhythm. They controlled the game from the out. They did not give in to silly tactical fouling. They didn't give in to kind of some dark arts. It was a clinical, dominant performance that I frankly didn't see coming. Kind of given the recent bit of form, Dan, I expected us to be a little bit cautious coming out of the gate, and it just turned out that instead of being cautious, Chelsea just took it to Spurs for the better part of 90 minutes, and especially in the first half, just decided to go out and dominate.
Well, one of the first matches in a very, very long time where we've had a full week to prepare. It was a match where Fikayo Tomori comes back from back into full fitness. You have Alonso coming back, wasn't played at all, who should be absolutely ready to give a full 90, and he loves to score against Tottenham, as we know. He definitely marked an appearance when we had our first match in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, so he was ready. You saw Rudiger still kind of getting back to his full fitness, and then giving some of our players who just put in absolute shifts this season, and Willian and Tammy and Mount, Conte, Kovacic, all getting a full week's rest. That makes a huge difference. And I think what we saw is the result of that rest and a desire just by Frank setting up and saying, like, we want the ball and we're going to go score. And that desire, like, there were so many more, Brandon, two-man presses on a player to close down the player in this match than I think we've seen over maybe the last 3 or 4 matches that we've had in the Premier League, where we just had a level of quickness to how we were kind of closing down, how we were working it down. And we really, I think the game plan was, like, don't let Tottenham sit on the ball. Like, don't let Tottenham have the ball for too long, force them to make a bad decision. And we ultimately did that and took advantage to win.
Right. I think that was the Pulisic decision. Obviously, he can press. Mount just does it differently. And I think Mount's a little more comfortable on the ball in tight spaces, whereas Christian probably likes to be a little bit out wide, maybe have some space. So I think that was a strategic or tactical decision, bringing in Mount for that. It worked. I mean, I texted you guys. I don't know when it was in the match. It's a flipping blur. The academy boys were up for it, right? As you saw, and so, like, they're leading. They're leading by example of the tempo that they wanted to play and take it to Tottenham. And it was fantastic to see. Obviously we get to the goal here, Nick, 13th minute. Chad immediately looks at me, goes, after celebrating wildly, "Oh, we scored too early. Here we go." Good old Men in Blazers quote for you guys. And it didn't matter. We watched back that goal. Short corner. It comes off an absolutely unforced error by Serge Aurier. He just literally heads it out of bounds by himself. We play short. Willian gets some space, gives him the old floppy foot, give him the dangle, push it to the inside, and smashes it home, far post side netting. Goalkeeper, no chance. I mean, your reaction to that goal?
We've seen him do that exact thing a handful of times at Chelsea. I mean, I think he relishes playing on the left. I think he relishes being able to cut in on a strong foot and be able to curl that ball across the face. And I think he looked different today to me than maybe any other time this season. And that's, of course, not to say that he's had a poor year. He's actually had a very good year, but he just looked like he was on a different level today, Dan. And I know that you're going to read out his stat card here, but upon the eye test, I mean, it just looked like he was a little extra quick. It looked like he had his dribbles more under control than maybe even at previous times in the season. He just looked like a leader out there today and did not look afraid of the moment at all.
Well, if you're a fan of numerology and just what the number 10 shirt typically means, absolutely 1,000,000% worthy of being the 10 on the day. for the shift that he put in. And just to, again, top line stat wise, 90% pass accuracy, 77 touches, 54 passes, 5 chances created, 2 shots on target, 2 goals, 1 interception, 1 tackle, 1 foul, 1. He was just all over the place. Yeah, I think I've said this before about, when Conte has a really good game, that occasionally if it was a murder scene, like his fingerprints would be all over it. The DNA would be there, and he would be in sitting in jail like before they even started investigating the crime scene, because it'd be so open and shut. Willian was that way today, Brandon. It was an open and shut case that he was the best player out of all 22 plus substitutes who were on the pitch today.
Okay, can you asterisk that and give us your clause? Like, be consistent, Dan. 2 goals wasn't 2 goals in the book of Dan.
Yeah, Dan.
Huh?
Frickin' Dan over here.
Jeez.
Anti-penalty Dan.
Actually, I think Alonso ends up getting a goal if he doesn't get absolutely trucked leading up to it.
All right, well, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, obviously, the penalty. But anyways,
but
Willian.
Well, one thing that we also should comment on is just the fact that we had a corner routine that worked. Like, we took a short corner and we put it into a position, and we created this massive lane for Willian to run into and take that shot. Like, maybe we can't beat the first man when it comes to kicking corners in all the time, but maybe we could try some more short corners, because that worked for us.
It did. It worked perfectly. I wonder if that was a Spurs thing that they had recognized, or if that is, something they're just trying to rectify, because it is so poor right now. But anyways, continuing down the timeline of the match, right? So, 13th minute, he gets his goal. It immediately gets chippy, right? All of a sudden, Spurs need to react. So they react with physicality. They react with fouling. Like that through the end of the half, Nick. I mean, you had Dyer going in on Mount. Mount got him back, though. Good ups on Mason. I hate when players try to injure other players, right? Because I've been injured. Someone broke my leg, but they know how to do it, right? So Dyer goes in late on Mount and catches him studs up on the top of his foot. Mount knows what he's doing. He didn't go in high. He just went in and knew that he would do the same thing and scrape the top of his foot. And it hurts so much, but it's not career ending. And Mount did it. And look, if you want to say that I'm wrong, that's fine. I understand that there is that side to it, but it's kind of gamesmanship in these matches. But Nick, like I said, it got fiery. It got testy. I love seeing the reaction. Rudiger putting in flying tackles, stepping in hard. Like I said, the Academy boys having none of it, getting stuck in themselves. But it happened. Levels increased.
It did not reach a battle of the bridge level of red card absurdity, but it certainly was physical. It certainly had an edge to it, and it felt like a quote unquote proper London derby. It felt like these two teams didn't like each other very much, which is okay with me.
Loved seeing it, honestly.
No.
Yeah, same. It felt great. And I think it felt great, especially, Dan, to me, because there have been times this season where, Chelsea have played such attractive football with such, up and coming bright English stars and all this kind of stuff, where I think the storyline has maybe taken a little edge out of their game a little bit. And today they were fully ready, swords and shields, headed into battle, and it just looked and felt right.
Oh, rough and tumble. We were looking to knock some heads, and we were looking to play our game, to play smart, but not back down when they were puffing their chest out a little bit. And I think you might have said earlier that we didn't necessarily engage in some of the dark arts, but I think Mason was doing a really good job today on Dyer initially, and then Vertonghen later, of just putting in some really, for a guy with a smaller frame, some physical kind of elements to his game that he pulled off today that, different from maybe Christian, who again has maybe struggled to kind of have some of that retention getting somebody dispossessed a little bit easier. Mount did a really, really nice job of maintaining the ball in some really tight positions, winning the ball back quite frequently, and shadowing Tammy appropriately. Like there was a point where Mason would just find himself in space and he could kind of push the ball forward. And yeah, loved it. Loved the way that we got up for the game. Loved the fact that we wanted to go toe to toe. And the moment they started puffing out their chests, like we were going back blow for blow on it, and not in the way to make it, again, that battle of the bridge style of just, going completely out of hand, but smart enough, Brandon, to kind of put us in a position where they knew we weren't going to back down either.
But we have before, right? Like,
right.
We've done that. And that's why I was so excited. And you forget what Rudiger brings, right? He is looking forward to just fucking with Kane all match.
Yeah.
He is looking forward to that battle. And he'll take it. He knows he'll give it and he'll take it. And he's fine with how the on-field kind of duels go. He's fine with it. Look, even Zuma got nasty with Kane. And I think that's what we lose without Rudiger and we forgot about, is because, look, Fick's not really like that. Zuma hasn't been like that this season. Rudiger brought another element to it, and you need that. You need that. It's not nasty, but he's going to go flying in hard so that a defender or an attacker doesn't even have a chance to win the ball. He's going to just essentially manhandle a striker and make them realize that they have no chance and they should just give up now. I missed it. I loved it from him. I thought the team took a lot of they took a page out of his book, right? He was like, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to react. And everyone got in line.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think to parlay that point, early on in the first half, you saw Son and Kane get into really good positions, but because of the wall of Zuma and Rudiger and Tomori, Dan, Tottenham had nothing going offensively throughout basically the entire match. They had a couple of crosses. They had, a couple of shots that went over. Harry Kane was basically absent. A really kind of informed Dele Alli was absent, except for karate kicking Mateo Kovacic. This back line, after really being poor the last couple of weeks, if we're just being honest, really showed up to play today. Big
time. Obviously, Kane, we let him slip in the box. He skied it. He actually played a fantastic ball to Son on the back post. But again, Aspie just did enough. He put his wide as well. Overall, though, for Tottenham to only get one shot on target, they were throwing their bodies in front of the ball, and it was brilliant for them. I was just so impressed with that. So
it was great. It was really great to see that we could stitch together a coherent defensive performance. First away clean sheet in the Premier League this season for us.
That?
Just something to keep in mind, that we are, hours, 48 hours at this point, or less before Christmas. It is now the first away Premier League clean sheet that we've gotten, and it was with 3 at the back versus a high-scoring Tottenham coached by Jose Mourinho. That would not have been the game that I would put money on at the beginning of the season to be the match that we would have gotten our first away clean sheet at. But I'm going to take it.
Yeah. All right. Quick break. We have so much more to cover. Kovacic and Dele Alli getting into it. Halftime, the penalty, so much more. Anyways, thank you to the sponsor for supporting our show financially. Much more when we return. All right. So continuing on in the physicality, we had a nice little 1v1 tussle with Kovacic and Dele Alli. Obviously, it was a weird situation, right? It ended up where Dele Alli jumped to get out of the way of something and ended up on Kovacic's back. It didn't end well. Got some pushing, some shoving. Kane got to stick his forearm across Kovacic's face without getting reprimanded because he's England's golden boy. Anyways,
Any sarcasm in that, Brandon?
a little bit. I feel bad
Okay.
for our English friends that have to watch Harry Kane play for Spurs. It's got to be the most frustrating thing ever.
It's going to be really exciting when Tammy Abraham, new golden boy, becomes the starting striker for England.
Best case scenario. Eh? Anyways, a bit of a tussle, Nick. It was. I saw it happening as the camera panned away, and then the players kind of stopped, and you're like, "Oh, something happened! Quick, pan the camera, go back, go back." And we only got the end of it, but holy shit, Kovacic was fired up.
Yeah, you could tell.
And to be fair, real quick, Dele Alli wasn't fired up. He's just being his little bitchy self.
Yeah, well, he's just the guy. He's the guy on that team that I just love to hate the most. You know, like I don't really hate Harry Kane. You can't. You know, I think it's written in law that you can't hate Heung-min Son. You know, based off of his smiling.
Are you sure about that?
That's just the way the law is written, Dan. Otherwise, Dele Alli's your perfect foil, your perfect kind of negative impact, and it just looked like an awkward fall, and then it looked like Dele kind of rode him down and then pushed him to get up. And look, man, I don't want to make too many assumptions about Mateo Kovacic, but I don't think that he's one that will back down from a fight. I think this is a guy, Dan, that perhaps in his life has been involved in a few scraps.
You know, I'm not going to go into that, but I will say that I think Dele Alli is someone who should maybe stick to the aquatics that he displayed later in the match and go off to the Olympic Stadium and stop trying to, kind of kick it around as a footballer, because this clearly is not going to end well for him in his career if he discontinues this style of play where he tries to play the victim and he puts himself in these situations where, you know, he is kind of instigating against a lot of players who, like Kovacic in this moment. I would trust more to be able to finish what's getting started. But, again, to the points you were making earlier, this was just another example of the caginess of this match, a little bit of the back and forth, and the fact that every player, really on both sides, is committed to at least giving 100% of their effort in these moments. Maybe not 100% of their effort on the Spurs side for all the footballing elements of the match, but that's why we won.
I think I am
okay.
putting my money on Kovacic.
Yeah.
Go ahead and just send that to Vegas. Let's get that money cashed in, because that would be an easy one. But anyways, this is kind of a continuation of the feistiness that we saw. Unfortunately for Kovacic, that's probably the reason he got subbed off later in the match. But anyways, as we get in to the continuation, we're riding high. I was ready for halftime. I was like, all right, let's go. Let's get into the dressing room up 1-0. Let's take the good vibes. Let's not let anything happen. And then out of nowhere, a long ball to Alonso, who loves scoring against Tottenham. He was getting, by the way, jeered real hard by the Tottenham fans in this match. Anyways, Alonso goes through. Gazzaniga just decides to, for some reason, not use his hands. He has built a career making millions of dollars a year using his hands, and he decides to kung fu kick at a ball 5.5 feet in the air. To which Anthony Taylor called a penalty or foul on Alonso for running into said kung fu kick.
It was the most ridiculous couple seconds. I couldn't believe that it looked like a scene out of a Mortal Kombat made-for-TV movie. And then you're like, okay, well, that's a penalty. And then Anthony Taylor's like, no, dog, that ain't a penalty. That's a foul on your guy.
What the?
Which had me pulling my hair out.
This is worst case scenario for Anthony Taylor, because obviously it went to VAR, and we all know that it obviously went to penalty, right? So not only did VAR, which normally errs on the referee's side because good old boys club, not trying to throw anyone under the bus, completely thrown under the bus, Nick. No, there's no No room for Anthony Taylor in this one, because not only was it not a foul on Alonso, it was a penalty kick and a caution for Gazzaniga. Complete opposite.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm glad for VAR in this moment that it was able to get it right, but the immediate and exasperated pleas of Tammy Abraham and Fikayo Tomori and Frank Lampard and Cesar Azpilicueta and Marcus Alonso told you all you needed to know. I mean, even Jose Mourinho after the match was more than happy to admit that it was a penalty. I mean, it was so stupid and so wrong. I don't even know what he could have been looking at, because they showed his like vantage point looking at the play, and there was no obstruction there. It's not like anything came across or blocked his view.
It was a breakaway.
He just got it wrong. And again, I'm okay if a referee gets it wrong and then relatively quickly VAR is able to make it right and it's all good. That's what the whole thing is supposed to be there for. But man, like the commentary and Arlo White, who is usually, I think, as level-headed as an analyst can be, was like, surely this is a penalty. Just sure, like
if
sure,
I'm
you know,
wrong, I will retire now.
I will eat this shoe if this is not a penalty. Yeah, it was absurd. And then again, Dan Willian putting in, while not captain on the field, a captain's level performance today, goes and buries the penalty after an incredibly awkward run up.
The best part of this penalty wasn't the Gazzaniga element. It wasn't Alonso earning it. It wasn't Williams' conversion of it. It wasn't even the players celebrating it. It wasn't even any of our people celebrating it. It was the fact that in the video of Frank Lampard celebrating and cheering, the Mourinho doing a Charlie Brown walk into the tunnel, head down, shaken, and just with Frank in the front part of the screen, you catch the little "Where's Waldo" moment of Mourinho, and it is just delicious. Oh, it was so good. It's the best thing I've tasted in weeks.
I mean, look, Mourinho loves a good early halftime exit. This was massive, obviously, for many reasons. And look, VAR, we'll talk about VAR again very soon. Clearly, we have been banking bullshit VAR for some good VAR today, and it worked. And
double punch day.
Look, if I'm Tottenham, I'm pissed because every single VAR decision went against them. Like the penalty late in the game was not a penalty, and they're all right decisions. But Tottenham's probably pissed because they're never all right decisions. Like, how did VAR get every decision right today? And they all went against them. But look, I'm going to laugh about it because not my problem. And that's kind of where we're at.
I did like Dan's tweet about Chelsea cashing in all of our loyalty points today. That was pretty good. I don't like to give Dan credit for tweets, but that was super good. I saw that come across the screen.
Yeah, it's very true. It
reminds me of the time in college, my roommate used to work at Subway, and he had all the stamps. You remember the stamps you got?
Oh yeah.
And occasionally he would come home with 50 of them. So we're like, cool, we've got lunch for the rest of the week.
And that's why that program didn't last. All right, cool. So halftime done, boom, great. It was amazing. We come back out, and again, Chelsea in control into the second half. And I think what's crazy about that, Dan, is that doesn't always happen. Usually if a team is dominant going in the first half, I know the commentator saying Mourinho was just chirping the whole match, trying to get all these different instructions to his team. Clearly they aren't drilled into them yet. You think halftime, he's going to make adjustments. This is what Mourinho does. He said post-match that they weren't surprised by this formation. Bullshit. Like, Tottenham were paralyzed. They were just deer on ice at the beginning because they didn't know what to do with that lineup. So I was assuming, all right, here we go, halftime. we're probably going to lose some momentum. We're up 2-0. We're going to have to ride the wave for a little bit. Really wasn't that way, was it?
No, I think actually watching it back, I felt so comfortable after the start of halftime, more so than maybe any match so far this season, where we were cruising. It looked good. We still had high tempo. We were still pressing them. They weren't finding any type of continuity with the passing that they were putting together. And credit to Tammy, to Willian, to Mount up top, the way that they were playing. Conte winning the balls back. Kovacic, maybe not his best game of the year, but still offering tons in the midfield. And I was shocked. I was generally shocked, Nick, that we were able to maintain that type of continuity where we have struggled to do that this season. And considering it's away to a club that thinks, that we're their biggest rival. They might not be ours, but they think that way. Small club mentality.
Yep.
And yeah, we kept it in a really tense situation. And I made a credit to the halftime talk, I think. Maybe.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was a little nervous heading into the second half because I think we played so well in the first half that I wasn't sure that we could replicate it. And to be fair, I don't think we really did, but it was still a really good second half performance, something that I'm proud of. And, only aided Brandon by the fact that we were playing against 10 men for a little bit, huh?
Right. But, I mean, a lot happened before then. Tammy gets in, right? He had a chance. He's offside.
Yep.
Tammy had a great day. He didn't get his goal. He, it was offsides, missed some other chances. Look, took a cross literally in the kisser, right? I mean, he put in the work until he got subbed off and Mishi went in. Again, on the stat sheet, probably didn't do much, but to the eye test, I thought was fantastic.
He terrorized the Spurs defense.
They're vets. Those are veteran defenders,
Yeah.
Dan.
Yeah, the reason why William was finding the space, the reason why Mount was getting into dangerous positions was Abraham was absorbing one plus another defender pretty much the entirety of the time, making great runs, going back when necessary. He just really only missing a goal, Nick, for that to be a complete striker performance. And to see him doing it, we haven't seen it always against the top teams of the Premier League yet. But I think this is going to go back, and there's some highlight reel elements in this match for him, just not a goal.
Yeah, I mean, his hold-up play was outstanding today.
His ball to Mason Mount was delightful.
Delightful. The fact that Mason didn't rip a shot there. Tammy had to just be giving him shit in the locker room at halftime because that thing was perfectly weighted.
Yeah.
I mean, it was super frustrating, but his hold-up play was outstanding. He allowed, and especially because I think one of the things we haven't talked about is Chelsea did not try and play out of the back today. That was a kind of significant change from previous matches. Is Kepa went long, and more often than not, this time Brandon found Willian on the left, or found Tammy up top, or found Mason on the right. And we were able to move the ball effectively and surpass their kind of crowded midfield of, Sissoko and Dyer and the like. So that was a small tactical adjustment too that I thought ended up playing really well. And then Tammy was able to control the ball and bring the attack up to him, which I think just helped everything go.
It was those are the days you just want your striker to put in a shift. And he did. And he delivered, and he did what the team needed of him, not what he needed to do on his own. It was a team effort, or he put the team before self. And especially with big-name strikers, you don't always get that, right? They want the ball. They need service. He put in a hell of a shift, especially chasing them down and putting them under pressure, getting his foot stuck in there. It was fantastic. Then 55th minute. So then we get into the 62nd minute-ish, and all of a sudden, Heung-min Son's nicest guy in the world title takes a bit of a hit. All right. is very innocuous. They came together, deal with it, but he kicked out at Rudiger. I mean, like, there's no way around it. We all saw it, especially watching an NBC stream because they showed it about 7 times in a row. And there's no excuse for it. Like, his whole poor me, referee Anthony Taylor, like, why are you even looking? I didn't do anything. Like, guys, just turn it off. Don't worry about it. You know me. I've got a great track record. It wasn't my fault that he broke his ankle. Like, give me a break.
Andre Gomez.
You fucked up. Like, you had a lapse in judgment. Tempers were high, and you can't do that. And, you know, Marino's whole shtick of, oh, I hope Rudiger recovers speed. Fuck that. It's intent. It's all about intent. And if you do that and lash out towards a player, which, by the way, that grazed his ribs. That could not have felt good for Rudiger. But the fact is, you had intent. You did it. No questions. Yet it took 17 minutes to happen.
Hey, so you're telling me that Son wasn't actually trying to cushion Rudiger from his fall by pushing upward into his body to give him a less of a fall?
According to VAR, no, Dan.
That's what I thought it was. I mean, Son's such a nice guy. I mean, he doesn't accidentally break people's legs or, you know, try to do kind of nefarious things. I mean, what happened? What happened to this wonderful cherubic individual, Nick, who just apparently only has the most wonderful holy things that he can kind of do? I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, like, from like a sitcom perspective, what like a really bad son would be in a show. Like, I've recently been watching Schitt's Creek, and like, it's just it's so good. It's so funny to me. But yeah, look, this was dumb. I don't know if he really meant it, like, you know, physically, or if it was just something where he was trying to get one in, just a quick one. But the problem with that now in VAR is that there's an angle for everything. And especially when you're doing something that is not a natural movement in your, you know, kind of fall or roll or whatever. Sure. You don't kick up as you're rolling over. It doesn't make any sense. And then that on top of the fact of where he ended up kicking, which is like the midriff area. Now, do I think that Rudiger is ultimately severely hurt because of this? No. Do I think that this incident is exactly what spurned on a lot of the racist stuff that happened after? Yeah.
Oh, big time. 100%.
So, you know, it does have a huge impact. And, you know, I think it was a relatively soft red card personally, but that's the law of the game, and you can't do it. And red cards have been shown for equal offenses in the past, and they will hopefully be shown for that kind of stuff in the future.
I would say the only thing about this that was bummed me out is just how long it took. You know, with the Alonso one went much quicker. The Dele Alli one went much quicker. This one took the longest out of the 3 VAR checks, and there needs to be you want to get it right, and like that's the whole point of having VAR, but there needs to be a desire to kind of say, look, we want to, within 30 seconds or less, with all the people we have in this booth, we want to try to get it right and get it quick so that we are 99% certain we got the right answer. But if you could shave off 30 to 40 seconds in getting this done, that would be a way to bridge the gap between where the frustration, I'm sure, lies with those away supporters. I mean, not ours today, because they were loving every moment of getting to be there and chant at the Tottenham supporters with all the amazing songs, and credit to them for creating a wonderful atmosphere. But boy, oh boy, like that is the issue for me, is that VAR has to be quicker in the way it works to get it right, Brandon.
I don't know what you're complaining about. 8 minutes of stoppage time and a half where there are no goals scored or significant injuries.
Sounds about right.
Modern football. All right. I get it, though. I understand the sentiment. I agree. I think it's still new. So if I were to give them the benefit of the doubt, right? Here's the only thing I can come up with. They just want to make sure, because it's so new, they're building confidence. Like, sending off a Tottenham player is a massive ripple effect in this match. They're already down 2-0. Already gave Chelsea rightfully a penalty. There's the human side of, I have to be sure. Like, because I know BBC, Sky, NBC, and all the other regional broadcasters are going to slow it down and watch it over and over. And if we're wrong, we are screwed. And then we have to hear Mourinho complaining. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's consequences. And I can appreciate that they acknowledge that there are consequences to these decisions. But to your point, it has to go faster. So I'm hoping after a year of doing it, maybe a second year, they're going to have more confidence to make the right decisions and make them quicker. But it was a lot of standing around today. They used the entire 2 hours of broadcast time. That is for sure. Kind of weird. The rest of the match just kind of happened. Chelsea were pretty comfortable. I think Tottenham had their last chance towards the end of the match. We had that almost non-penalty call. But, I mean, am I missing something? I mean, it just kind of happened. I actually, in the second half, I got to watch with the Milwaukee Blues. Shout out. I've got their scarf over here if you're watching on YouTube. And so we were talking the whole second half and reacting to things. The second half went really fast for me, and I wasn't too concerned. Was that the same for you guys, or did you see it differently?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, once we kind of hit the 75th minute, it was just very clear that Spurs were not going to come back into the match. And, you know, I think you're always kind of nervous at 2-0, Dan, but to me, when they started walking around, it was basically like forfeit. And that last 8 minutes of stoppage time was an eternity. Chelsea could have scored twice in that 8 minutes. Like, people forget, like, N'Golo Kante had a ball put on a plate for him that he just somehow, decided to cut back and didn't shoot. But yeah, it felt very inevitable.
There was a comment that I really enjoyed where someone talked about the fact that they didn't know Frank Lampard was a vet because Tottenham got neutered today. And that clearly came to fruition from the 60th, 65th minute forward. There was really fight left in them at all. Like, they basically had to walk away head in hands and just say, like, we blew it. We had maybe a chance at some point in this match, maybe, but they just weren't set up for it. So yeah, 3-point stadium. It's here. We're there. We're going there once a season at least. 3 points guaranteed every time.
I'm trying to pull up the tweet you had on the podcast. Yeah. It's right here. And it was good. I'd kind of said something similar, not to you guys. So, like, I'm just saying this because, like, you and I were on the same wavelength, Dan. So tweet from @LondonBluePod, 10 hours from time of recording. Pretty shoddy craftsmanship for the Tottenham Stadium to already be crumbling like this.
Well, the whole thing did kind of collapse.
Wasn't great, Bob.
I think my favorite tweet of the day about Tottenham, and as they were kind of throwing their cups out onto the pram, is Dan did put this in our text thread that I think it was something to the effect of Tottenham shouldn't be throwing cups out or something like that. Like,
can't afford to be throwing them away.
Yes, yeah, totally. Like as if they have a bunch of cups to just willy-nilly toss out. So that was pretty good. It was a comprehensive, dominant, wonderful, absolutely incredible performance, and I am so proud of this team for showing up big this week.
I mean, this match had more meltdowns than the entire Chernobyl miniseries, so that also was going for it too.
Hey, I watched that on my way home from London. That was impactful. All right, you be careful, sir. Lives were affected. Tottenham was. I'm still smiling. Like, I've never been happier cleaning at work in my life, but that's what I did today. I had to clean the facility, just needed it, didn't care. Nothing could ruin my day. It was great. So match concludes, celebrations. at 3-Point Stadium. Huge from Lampard, huge from the team. I mean, the elation that just erupted. That's when the care bombs were poured at Brits where I was. I could not partake because I had to go to work. So I just finished off the rest of their Carabao.
Yum.
Yeah, it's just being friendly. Didn't want to, not partake in anything.
You think Frank liked that one? Did you?
Oh my gosh! I mean, he threw his coat in. I thought he was going to keep going. Here's my jacket.
Chug a couple beers from the stands. Not a big deal.
That was it. So look, a ton of reaction on both sides from Mourinho and Lampard. Listeners, I know we're running long, but there's things to talk about. So, Dan, we'll let you do the little media row rundown, starting with a great friend of the pod, Liam Toomey.
Yeah, in the ground in the press room afterwards, and a couple. I was gonna pull out one or two that I think were funny. Mourinho, with his comment that you referenced earlier, Rudiger is for sure having scans on broken ribs because it was a really violent incident. In some countries, in my country, we call them clever players, but in this country, the country I fell in love with, we call them something else. I can't even read it without laughing. He just, for me, it's not a red card. If you went to every person in this room, someone say yes, someone say no, and that's not for VAR. The penalty for VAR, that's a clear and obvious mistake. He said that they were superior, talking about Chelsea, but the goals are not a result of any superiority. One is a short corner and one is a penalty. The goals came on mistakes, which is another fair and accurate statement. And the one that Frank Lampard got maybe a little bristled by, according to Liam, was that Mourinho saying they were better than us in the first half. They played in a system they were very comfortable with, a system they played for 2 years under Antonio Conte.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's what Brandon and I have a little bit of disagreement on this on, and it's just my mentality. Once Mourinho left and started coaching for United, I wrote him out in my brain. None of these quotes affect me at all. I don't care. I know exactly the game that he plays, and that quote specifically about Antonio Conte is just beautiful Mourinho. I mean, that is the thing that he always does. He could say we're superior. He could say the penalty was right, and then he's going to come in, Brandon, with a little dig at the end, and I pay it no mind. It is what it is. I've already seen it from the inside. I know what it looks like from the outside. It does not bother me.
Yeah, so for those of you not watching on YouTube or Instagram TV or wherever, I've been wearing a scarf all episode, and it's kept me very warm. Let me go ahead and show you on the screen what it says.
Look at you, the special one.
It says the special one, and it even has, and I'm putting it on the camera, so you need to go to our video feeds to show it. Okay? I sent these to all these guys when Mourinho left because the mega store had them on clearance for like $5. So we bought them.
Oh, man.
It's got Mourinho's face on it. It's got his name on it. It says the special one. It has kept me warm this entire episode because I'm sitting here in Minnesota. And it's like 32 degrees. I'm sitting by a window. This has kept me warm the entire episode. I'm basking in it. Nick pays no attention. What is the fun in that if we can't go back and listen to his nonsense and now say, what a joke. This is silly. You're saying stupid things you don't really believe, yet we ate out of that hand for how many years and backed him
Twice
and believed it. But it's different now. We have Frank freaking Lampard, and he had, quote, Stan, counteract. Frank got stuck in. Let's go.
Yeah, he indicated in response to that comment that he is not a clone to anyone's system. He also talked about that he hadn't at the time had a chance to speak to Rudiger about the alleged chance, but he supports him, which we referenced earlier. And then he said that at the end that he'll always respect Mourinho, but both of them really, really wanted to beat one another. So today feels so good. And that super Frankie Lampard got it done on the day, took the 3 points, came up with a plan to make it happen. And like we've all said, it's just been beaming smiles, walking on sunshine, and everything is rainbows and lollipops and unicorns, and it's wonderful.
Okay, so that's a wrap. We're good? Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. We'll finish up.
Just a smidge more. Just a
yeah.
smidge.
Nick, you want to react to Super Frankie Lampard there?
Look, Frank said all that he needed to say as he was fist pumping the away fans after, and I'm very excited to see George Benson's match day vlog, and
it's fantastic.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet, but I would encourage everyone to, because to me, to see the passion after the penalty went in, see the passion after the match. Frank didn't need to give one quote today. Everyone knows how he felt about this. I think, needed to win this game because we've been on a 4 out of 5 losing streak, which isn't acceptable. And then the other part is he wanted to beat Mourinho really bad, and it showed. I mean, Frank pulled a absolute masterclass out. Should be given all the credit in the world for what he's done today, and I think. On the NBC coverage specifically was given a lot of praise, and that is awesome. It's just really good for him.
I'm reveling in it. Look, Lampard came to the fans twice. Like, he couldn't get enough of that. And he just taken like Spurs' new stadium, Mourinho. He talked about it after the match, how much having Mourinho on the sideline next to him, like, you can't ignore it, right? Mourinho was a huge reason that Lampard became one of the best players in the world. You can't ignore that fact, right?
No.
That's his mentor, and he wants nothing more than to take it to him. And this started back in the pre-match in the press conferences, right? Mourinho says, "I am Tottenham. I'm also Chelsea and Real Madrid and Inter Milan and Porto, but right now I'm 100% Tottenham." Lampard, hey, mate, you ever gonna take the Tottenham job? Fuck no. I'm reading between the lines and paraphrasing. That's essentially what he said, Nick.
Are you sure on the paraphrasing there?
It's pretty close.
There, Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's, again, to me, Frank and Jody after the match. Jody, birthday boy, Jody Morris today.
Happy 41st, sir.
Yeah, not a bad birthday. It's you could see they did not cover their mouths like most people do when they know they're on camera. It was just very obvious the smug nature of the conversation that was being had there, Dan, and I was all in.
Well, what I really enjoyed was the people who were bringing back up the Jody Morris crying in reaction to the Mourinho comments on Sky about being concerned about Chelsea before, like, a week before or 2 weeks before taking the Tottenham job. And those things getting brought back into the information sphere was perfect.
This shit doesn't get any sweeter.
Can't get enough.
I've been basking in it all day. I wanted to talk to my old coworker and see if we want to get on IG Live and have a little discussion. Look, I feel bad for the Spurs supporters. I was listening to BBC 5 Live.
Mourinho out.
Oh, everyone. To be fair, one guy was like, I never wanted him. So you can understand why he's Mourinho out, because he didn't care before. He's like, in 4 weeks, we've already regressed under Pochettino. We were playing expansive football. Now we knock it long. Harry Kane is just a target forward to knock it down for Dele Alli. And if that doesn't work, we're screwed. I mean, Eriksen came off the bench. Like, what? Harry Winks is done for. All these Tottenham fans are just losing their minds. And I thought it was funny. And look, this is what you get, right? Yeah, you had a little bit of success. But not really. You really haven't had that much success. And today was a huge, huge day for the table. And I'm going to pause before we get to the table because, Dan, if I didn't give you your moments for the most successful Dan on the Match poll in the history of Dan in the match polls. That'd be on me. I'd feel bad.
Are you saying successful because there was like only one comment about someone saying that there should have been another player?
Nailed it. Who did they even submit?
They asked for Conte to be on the list.
Yeah.
No, botched that one-on-one. No chance. No chance. Be better.
Wow, Brandon with the
He was
better.
He was pretty good today.
He was fantastic. I love him.
All right, so the individuals include Tammy Abraham, Mason Mount, Antonio Rudiger, and Willian. No surprise, with 89.3% of the vote.
Landslide.
Takes all of it. Mason Mount in second place, 5.5%. Rudiger with 4.4%, and Tammy Abraham with 0.8%. I would say that's accurate within my.
No, Rudiger over Mount. That's what I'd say today. Anyways,
I don't
doesn't
know.
matter. It doesn't matter because Willian walked away with it.
Yes.
Nick, do you think that this is a Willian we only get to see when he plays Tottenham?
I don't know. I hope we see more of it this year because, again, we're I think to make a serious point, like we were wondering at the beginning of the year where the goals were going to come from, right? So to have a balance across the front three or four between Mount and Pulisic and Willian and Abraham needs to happen. If Tammy's not going to get his goal today, then Willian needs to put in a shift. And if Willian's having an off day, Pulisic needs to put in a shift and so on and so forth. So I'm very happy for him. I hope that he puts even more of this sense of urgency into his game, and he's able to continue on a tear because it's fun when it's happening.
Oh, I wonder how much the left side plays into that, but we'll have to wait and see. Premier League table time. What a crazy weekend, by the way. I'm so glad we played on Sunday and just let everything else fall before us. So Liverpool had the weekend off, not really doing anything of note. They're still on first with 49 points and a game in hand. Leicester City dropping points. They lost. So that sucks for them, but they're on 39 points. Manchester City, all right,
Leicester.
Smashed Leicester a little bit. Kind of reminded Leicester, hey, you may be ahead of us in the table, but don't be confused on where your place really is. They're on 38 points. Chelsea in fourth on 32 points. Shit you not, Sheffield United is in fifth place. Europa League nailed on, 28 points. So
Blades of glory.
If you remember this, going into this, we're at 29 points. Spurs are at 26 points. So we talked about this, Nick. This is a huge 6-point swing. Well, Spurs swung so far down that Wolves are in sixth place with 27 points, and Spurs are still sitting at 26 points. Below them is United, who lost to Watford. Okay.
Convincingly lost to Watford.
Like handily. Where's De Gea? Hey, you guys want to take De Gea out of your team of the decades? All of you on Twitter?
He's making me look awesome. Thanks.
Jeez almighty. Then you go Newcastle on 25 points, Burnley 24 points, Arsenal in 11th on 23, tied with Crystal Palace in 12th on 23 points. And then you get into Brighton down on 20, Bournemouth down in 19, Everton on 19 points, West Ham on 19 points, Southampton on 18 points, and your relegation leaders are Villa. What a massive slide from them. They're all the way down on 15 points and 18th place. Norwich City on 19th place on 12 points, and 20th place Watford on 12 points. But hey, they just won, so hey, the Hornets. Am I right?
We play Southampton next.
Sure
One might assume, Dan, that they're going to come in looking to defend at Stamford Bridge, a formula that we have seen recently. Thoughts and feelings about how we might be able to beat a team playing 10 behind the ball.
They also have a negative 16 goal difference.
But they have Danny Ings, baby. They have Danny Ings.
Danny Ings, who is enjoying scoring at the moment, but they are the third worst side in terms of conceding goals this season. So I would hope that little Boxing Day present for all of us. We just pack up some 3 points. We continue pushing forward. We get 5 points closer to the safety total of 40 to know that we won't get relegated for the upcoming season. Be a good thing.
You know we blew our load. We've got nothing in the tank.
Jesus. Brandon's a little loose on the 10% beer there.
Not even that. Like, look at how we performed against West Ham, Everton, Bournemouth. What makes you think we're going to do this against Southampton after raising our level unbelievably high for Tottenham? No one's going to give a shit about playing Southampton.
One key point is Kovacic is not eligible for this match because he did pick up his 5th yellow card. Or
it's kind of bullshitty.
Yeah, and it was one. Again, Anthony Taylor just
Barkley.
No.
Barkley.
No. Away.
Jorginho did not even play a full game. He's going to be fine, and N'Golo Kante is
Iron Man.
Five men in one. It's he's like the human version of Voltron. It's pretty exciting. So we're fine.
Today was a nice reminder of just what N'Golo Kante in 2-man midfield does against a 3-man midfield.
Yeah. It's like having a 3-man midfield. I'm looking at this. I actually kind of hope that Lampard retains this formation for a little bit. Not because I think we need it at home against Southampton, but I do like the width it provides. Knowing that Dave came off injured today, you'll likely see Reece James get back in the lineup. Maybe you'll see Emerson play the wingback role. I do think there's some value there. I would guess that after a huge performance from Mason Mount, that Pulisic might slot back in. So I think there's some pretty clear rotation that can happen here and still keep the same shape of the team. But we got to have clean sheets. Okay, we got to have them now. This is when the table really starts to take shape from now until February. So this team has to really start locking it in. And of course, we're going to get Arsenal on a new manager bounce right after Southampton because that's just the way this all works. But yeah, I'm excited for Boxing Day now. I'm especially excited because one of my really good friends, Tug, and his family are going to be there in person. I helped them along with a good friend of the pod, Raymond Tavares, helped them source tickets for this. So really hoping they get to see a good performance.
That's awesome. That's so cool to hear. Yeah.
Well, Raymond's a hero. Just
good for him.
Pure hero for helping me out.
Love that. I love hearing it. And look, plug to the Chelsea community for being just freaking awesome with all that stuff. So shout out to all of you out there. All right. We've ran long. What are we sitting at? Roughly
4 hours and 30 minutes.
An hour and 23 minutes. You all are heroes for sticking around. But, I mean, did we have any other option today, really? I mean, what else were we going to do than half-ass this victory? And I'm sure some of you are traveling home for Christmas, for the holidays, to see family, to see friends,
it's our gift to you.
We're just here to help that time fly. I've got a 4-hour drive home when I make it. This would be perfect for that. And I hope that this has filled that for you as well. Anyways, thank you, listeners, as always. Let us know how you celebrated. Let us know where you were when the Chelsea beat Spurs on Sunday, December 22nd, 2019. Sorry, I'm practicing for 2020, getting ready. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Nick. In case you didn't know, they are traveling, so they're making extra efforts to show up and deliver the pod. So tweet at them a big thank you.
If you're on YouTube, I have some preserves behind me in my mother's basement.
You know, bomb shelter?
Yeah.
Is this going on here?
He's got his survival kit.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I have salsa for days down here, so I'm good.
I am looking forward to my gift of salsa in the mail, Nick. Thank you.
There it is.
All right. Anyways, thank you, everyone. What a fantastic day. Look at our Instagram and Twitter. We'll have some pod assets there for you to check out. But anyways, we got more matches coming. All right. We got a lot going on this week.
Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Correct. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And
From
Hanukkah.
us to you and yours. Until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high.